Hi, this is Deb, and I'm going to walk you through writing your conclusion. If you've already finished writing your conclusion, you can still go back and modify it. Just modify your wiki page and make some changes. If you see some things I talk about today, that will help you write a better conclusion. Generally, you're going to take this information that you have listed here from when you posted after you ran your experiment and analyze it. So you need to have observations for each person. What happened when you ran the experiment? Like John laughed several times. He appeared to feel very competitive with the other participants. He wasn't winded, nor did his face turn red. He was breathing normally. And so you have this kind of information for each person, as well as the pulse rate for each person. And your graph will or your table might look different depending on what you decided to collect and when you collected it. So you'll have all of this information, and that is what you're going to refer to and analyze now. So when you open the folder in our module for conclusions, you'll see this Part 4 Conclusions due Module 6, and you want to open this document. Okay, so here is that document opened up, and you'll see that it walks you through writing your conclusion. The first thing you're going to do is restate your hypothesis. For example, if the subject performs 30 jumping jacks in 30 seconds, clapping the hands over the head, blah, 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 blah. That's very helpful for you, I'm sure. But write exactly what your final hypothesis was. You want to put your final hypothesis in there exactly like it is in your experiment. Then you're going to analyze your data. What's that mean? That means you're going to look at those pulse rates, you're going to look at those observations of those people, and then start to explain what happened. So here it is. Here's one example. Remember, yours might be very different. Depends what your experiment was. This is the jumping jacks. So all subjects' pulse rate increased, okay, as expected. Boom. Now you want to tell me exactly who did what and why. Don't tell me one person's something, something, something. That's not helpful. You have to tell me who it was, and then you're going to relate it back to the observations or their description to help explain what happened. For example, Alex here, his increased the most, 23 beats per minute. We thought it was going to increase, but this guy went way, way off the top. So I say, when reviewing the data and observations, I saw that I had written down that Alex was out of breath, he was sweaty, and his face was red. Then he had to sit down directly after completing it. All right? So I've put my observations in there. Now I'm going to analyze that because I started out with my data of his beats per minute, and then I related it directly to what I saw in my observations, and finally I'm going to analyze that. I'm going to say that his heart appeared to have to work harder to complete the activity, which resulted in a higher beats per minute. When reviewing the subject descriptions, so I go back there, which is the first part, Alex was the oldest. He was 66 and had a fitness level of 3. He reported that he walked occasionally. That's what you're going to do for all your people. You're going to talk about how they fit, what was specific about them that gives you more evidence and support for what you said, what your analysis is, and you're going to refer back to the data you collected, the observations you collected, and your original description of each person. Then, after I did that for everybody, I feel like I can make a general statement. I'm going to say the younger subjects are likely to be more fit. Their hearts are stronger and more efficient and do not need to beat as rapidly as the older subjects in order to get the same results. Then I'm going to say this was demonstrated in the differences in beats per minute as well as the observations. For example, I'm going to talk about that the younger ones had a lower beats per minute and they were not winded, they were not sweaty. So I'm making a general statement about the specifics I just talked about. Now, let's say somebody doesn't fit. I'm going to write about that and explain what might have been the case. Turns out Joyce didn't fit my trend. I'm going to say, all right, what made that difference? Joyce appeared to be very competitive, so maybe she exerted herself more because she was quite winded and sweaty, according to the observations, and her phone rang once, what seemed to distract her. All of that could add to her stress level. So you want to go through all of your data and analyze it that thoroughly. Finally, How would you improve this experiment? This is a pretend world. You can do anything. You can hire a nurse to come and take everyone's pulse. You can hire a trainer to keep a beat so everybody does their jumping jacks to the same rate and exactly the same way. Whatever fits your experiment. You can bring in 10 subjects who are exactly the same age and exactly the same fitness, exactly the same gender, exactly the same competitive level, so you can make it up. But what things might have impacted your data that you could clean up in a pretend world? You know what I mean? So you want to come up with 3. So come up with 3 and write about that. When you have it done, you are done. And I will be grading these when the module is due, and I'll be going through everybody's at that time. If you want me to check yours out earlier, like you've written it, and you say, hey, could you give me some tips on this? How did I do? I'll go look at it and give you some feedback if you give me a couple of days before it's due, if you finish it early. All right, good luck. I hope you enjoyed this. I greatly enjoyed reading about all of your experiments.